What's up, guys and girls? Shaun has back here to once again talk about MMA, specifically daily fantasy. I haven't made a video in a couple weeks. Became a dad, so very happy about that. And of course, the last video I posted, we didn't do so hot, and I had a good week last week, but I don't have any proof here on camera. So hopefully, we keep the winning streak going, or winning streak up to 2. One other piece of news, guys, I'm now a regular co-host on the Loudmouth MMA podcast. Go ahead and check that out. I'm still going to post videos here. The podcast we do with Kyle Steele and MMA Profit. We focus on betting and DraftKings. These videos are going to really stick to DraftKings. It's something I'm going to try and do because there are so many podcasts and breakdowns out there. We're going to rapid fire these. I'm going to try and make each video under 15 minutes, get you in, out, get my quick thoughts on each fight and plays on DraftKings. And if you want some more extended content, definitely head over and check out the Loudmouth MMA podcast. So let's jump right into it. This card is UFC Fight Night 105 from Halifax, Canada card. A lot of Canadians on this card, and let's just jump right into it. The main event is Derek Lewis and Travis Brown. Both guys are minus 110, evenly priced on DraftKings, 8.1 thousand apiece. Derek Lewis is coming off that fight against Shamil Abdurakhimov. Abdurakhimov can make anybody look bad. He's just a slow type of fighter. Lewis got the win. He's on a win streak, and he has big power. Travis Brown also with big power, really known for those big elbows and takedown attempts that just kind of put your lights out. But since he's gone to work with Coach Edmond, famous from Ronda Rousey, ruining her as a fighter, he's ruined Travis Brown as well. Brown has changed camps, but he's still working with Coach Edmond. In terms of DraftKings, you have to have exposure to this fight. They're big guys. I'm going to pick Derek Lewis, the up-and-comer. I think his striking is crisp. I think Coach Edmond is crap for striking. Until Travis Brown leaves him, I have no faith in him. I'll have exposure to both sides, especially in tournaments. Be careful in cash games. Either guy can put up 0, but the price for 8,100, I prefer Derek Lewis. The co-main event is Johnny Hendricks against Hector Lombard. Hector Lombard is the favorite at minus 150. Johnny Hendricks plus 130 on DraftKings. Lombard is 8.5 thousand and Hendricks is 7.7. Really good value here on Johnny Hendricks, but if you are 100% sure what's going to happen in this fight, God bless you, because I have no idea. Both guys are now at middleweight and should be undersized for middleweight because both couldn't make welterweight. So it's kind of the perfect matchup for both of them to ease their way back into the octagon and into the 185-pound division. I'll be interested to see what each of them look like on the scale, especially Johnny Hendricks, who cutting down to 170 was just brutal for him. He had that fight against Neil Magny where I don't think he looked terrible. Didn't do much. He wasn't super active, but the takedowns are definitely an advantage for Hendricks. Lombard, though, has a wrestling pedigree of his own and throws heavy strikes. I think this is going to go one of two ways. Either Lombard is going to get you a first-round finish and knock Hendricks out. I'm not sure Hendricks' chin is gone yet. No, he hasn't looked great, but I think his chin is still there. Or Hendricks is going to wrestle him for 3 rounds. On DraftKings, that's not bad because you get all of the grappling points. Takedowns are 5, your passes. So again, this is another fight that I'm going to have exposure to on both sides. I won't say that the whole video, I promise. It gets much more cut and dry as we go on here. I like Johnny Hendricks, especially because there's not a lot of value on this card, 7.7 thousand. So I will favor him in tournaments. This is a fight I'm probably staying away from in cash games, but I do like Johnny Hendricks more in tournaments. Some exposure to Hector Lombard because he has that massive power. Next fight is Sam Cecilia against Gavin Tucker. Gavin Tucker is minus 160, Cecilia plus 140. 8.4 thousand for Tucker on DraftKings, 7.8 thousand for Sam Cecilia. And the world is turning against Sam here. I know he hasn't looked great his last 2 times out, but he lost to Do Ho Choi, who we just saw that crazy fight against Cub Swanson. Lost in the first round. And he had a second-round sub-loss to Gabriel Benitez that he didn't look great in. But he's 6-7 in the UFC over the last 5 years, and he belongs in the UFC. And he has an aggressive style that's really good for DraftKings that I love. On the other side, I know Tucker is a Canadian up-and-coming prospect. My problem with him, though, is he's the ECC champion. He's had 2 fights there, and the 2 guys he beat are now 7-7 and 7-10. And that was their last fight. It's not like he beat them when they were great. So it's very unproven. It's hard for me to trust a guy who's so unproven, especially in that price range. And Sam Cecilia, similar to Hendricks, offers great value at 7.8 thousand. I think I am on the opposite side of a lot of people on this one, but Sam Cecilia is a great tournament play. I like the price tag. I like the finish potential. He's either going to go forward and finish or get finished. So the pick here is, Sam Cecilia. Next fight is Elias Theodorou against Cesar Mutante Ferreira. I can't say his name right, so let's just move on. Ferreira is a minus 125 favorite. Theodorou's the underdog plus 105. 8.2 thousand for Mutanchi and 8,000 flat for Elias. Stay away from this fight. I don't like it at all. People are picking Mutanchi, and I get it. He's looked better as of late. Elias is on a win streak, but he had that really boring fight against Sam Alvey. This one, to me, just says decision. I'm not going to play anyone in it. If you want to play someone, play Ferreira, because he's the only one I think has finish potential. But to me, I see this being a split decision that I'll give credit. I do watch Will Martin's breakdown videos, and I think he made the comment that it looks like this fight could look like a Ferreira win, and the hometown Canadian gets a split decision win somehow, and we're all scratching our heads. And I totally agree with that. He said it, and I went, that's exactly how I think this is going to go. Elias is going to, when I say dirty it up, I don't mean grind it. He's going to make it a boring, slow, tactical fight, and I think he just gets the win here. He finds a way to win. Neither guy is a world beater. Stay away on DraftKings for me. The pick here, though, is going to be Elias Theodorou. Next up, Sarah McMahon against Gina Mazzani. McMahon minus 550, Mazzani plus 45. McMahon will cost you a pretty penny, 9.3 thousand on DraftKings. Mazzani 6.9. I don't even want to break down this fight. I guess go listen to the Loudmouth MMA podcast if you want to hear a breakdown, but I'm going to try and go past it there too. What the hell is Sarah McMahon doing in this matchup? She's going to squash Mazzani. I think a first round finish. Give me all the Mazzani, not Mazzani, excuse me, all the McMahon. She's going to be able to take her down. I think submit her quick. She looked good against Alexis Davis last time out. Her 3 losses, by the way, are to Ronda Rousey, Nunes, and Tate. And the only film you can find on Mazzani is her loss to Juliana Pena in the elimination round, the exhibition elimination round of The Ultimate Fighter in, I think it was TUF 18. So one more thing about McMahon, I think female fighters tend to go under-owned because there's not a lot of finishes. I think this card is different because the 2 on here, we'll get to Carlos Esparza in a minute, are wrestlers, which are great for DraftKings. Just look at Islam Makhachev from the last card. I like grapplers on DraftKings now. It's just the way the new scoring works. So I like Sarah McMahon, second highest price fighter on the card, but I'm going to have a lot of her in tournaments. I think it's the safest play and my safest pick of the weekend. Next up, we have Paul Felder against Alex Ricci. Paul Felder is minus 400. Alex Ricci plus 325. Paul Felder is the most expensive fighter on the card at minus 400. Alex Ricci, most expensive fighter at 9.5 thousand, minus 400 favorite. Trying to get 15 minutes, trying to go too fast. Alex Ricci, 6.7 thousand on DraftKings. This is a matchup that came together kind of odd, and really Paul Felder now, I think, has a walkover. Felder was supposed to fight Gilbert Burns. Alex Ricci was supposed to fight Alvaro Herrera. Both guys fell off, and now we have this matchup. I know Felder hasn't looked great. His last fight was against Francisco Trinaldo, and that was that 3rd round TKO stoppage because of a cut. It was a really nasty cut in a bad spot over his eye. He was going to lose that fight anyway. Before that, he did have wins against Josh Berkman and Darren Cruikshank. Don't get me wrong, it's not that Felder is the best fighter in the world. He's just better than Alex Ricci. He belongs in the UFC. Ricci lost to Jeremy Kennedy and got cut. He got re-signed as a Canadian prospect's hometown kid. That's why he's back on this card. I just don't see any way around. He gets around Felder. My issue is that for 9,500, does Felder get a finish? I think he can and does. I know what MMA Profit's going to say on the Loudmouth MMA podcast, that Felder's a decision machine, gets a lot of decisions. I just think he's going to outclass Ricci everywhere. I see a late stoppage for him. Don't bother with Ricci anywhere. I know I played a lot of a really cheap guy last week in Jim Miller. Alex Ricci's no Jim Miller. Stay away here. Roster Felder where you can. I wouldn't play him in cash because I don't think the ceiling is high, or the floor. I don't think the floor is high enough, because he could get a boring decision, 60-point win, which is not going to do you any favors on DraftKings at 9.5 thousand. But tournament, he's an upside play. He's a safer play. So I like Paul Felder. Next up, we got Nordine Talib against Santiago Ponzinibbio. Talib's the underdog, plus 335. Ponzinibbio minus 420. 9.2 thousand for the favorite, 7,000 for the underdog. Ponzinibbio is coming off two good wins, a win against a finish at Court McGee and a win over Zach Cummings, who's looked better than I thought. Talib is a TriStar guy, Canadian guy. TKO of Eric Silva last time out. I just think Ponzinibbio is the better all-around fighter, and more importantly for DraftKings, he's the finisher at 9.2 thousand. I'll have some of him. One interesting point, though, is I think this fight is closer than the odds would lead you to believe, and therefore price will lead you to believe. 7,000 is a good price for Talib. I'm going to mix him in tournament lineups because he's, of the lower price guys, he's the only one I think who could win his fight. The odds are too wide. We'll keep it simple at that. So Talib is a good, inexpensive play, one of the few good, inexpensive plays. The pick, though, is Ponzinibbio. Next up, we got Carla Esparza, who I mentioned earlier, against Randa Marcos. Esparza, another big favorite, minus 300. Marcos, plus 250. 9.1 and 7.1 thousand are the prices. Love Esparza in this spot. The wrestling advantage, again, on DK is huge. Only one person's figured out her wrestling, and that was Joanna Champion. She's just going to out-wrestle Marcos. Marcos, I think, has given some people false, I won't say false hope. She's looked better than she is. She's 2-3 in her last 5. And those 2 wins are over Jocelyn Jones-Lieberger, who I don't think is any good, and Aisling Daly. Again, it's okay. I just think Esparza is much better. Marcos, the Canadian. If you want to play the narrative, I don't think it's going to work out. I think Esparza wrestles her. Price is a little up there, but this is a good pivot play off of guys like Ponzinibbio and Felder and that top tier. I think she's going to be under-owned in the price range, and that's why I like Esparza in tournaments. And she's an okay cash game play. I think it's one of the safer plays on the card. Her and Alexis Davis, the women's fight should be relatively safe this weekend. Next up, we got Ayman Zahabi. You know what? I'm sorry if I said your first name wrong. I know you're a Zahabi. You are Firas Zahabi's brother against Reginald Ferreira. Zahabi's a minus 230 favorite, 8.8 thousand on DraftKings. Vieira plus 190, 7.4 on DraftKings. Zahabi's that hot prospect because of who his brother is. 6-0, all by first round finish. It's a good spot for his debut. Vieira was on tough for Brazil. He lost to Marco Beltran last time out. It's just a lot of times they put guys making their debut in a rough spot. This one, I think they're setting up Zahabi for a win. 8.8 thousand is a good price. He's in play in all formats, one of my top plays all around. I want none of Vieira. It's just a spot they're setting up a guy like Zahabi. Next up, we got Marshman and Santos. We're going to try to run through these last two. Marshman plus 155. Thiago Santos minus 175. 8.3 and 7.9 thousand on DraftKings. Take advantage of the recency bias. People are going to be down on Santos. He burned a lot of people when he fought Eric Spicey and got choked out, myself included. He has to bounce back here. He's a better fighter than he's shown. Gets that third win. Marshman, I don't think is as good as people think. He won last time out against Magnus Sennenblad. Doesn't do anything for me. I like Thiago Santos. If he doesn't get a finish quick, though, it's going to be a problem. I do think, I've agreed with some other people that I've heard, the longer this fight goes, the more it favors Marshman. But I like Santos, especially at 8.3 thousand. A great price, a great potential for a first-round finish. Last fight, Ryan James against Gerald Meerschaert. James, the underdog, plus 275. Meerschaert, minus 335. 9,000, 7.2 thousand are the prices. James is just so hittable. Meerschaert looked good his last time out, win over Joe Gelati. Again, Jane's just too hittable. He's going to get pieced up. I don't know about the finish. Jane's is tough. I see it being more of a decision, which makes the price tough on DraftKings, 9,000. I'll sprinkle him in a little bit. In tournaments, I do like to play. I think he's almost a cinch to win the fight. James is just hittable, maybe a late finish, but I think more likely a decision. So Mearshard's the pick. Not a great DraftKings play. I think there are better options in that price range. So we got through in just a little over 15 minutes. Again, guys, check me out on the Loudmouth MMA podcast. Follow me on Twitter. Play me on DraftKings. I'll put my information down in the description. And good luck this weekend. I'll see you next time.